We, therefore, the spokesmen of the One Reichs of America, in broad Wittenmut gathered, calling upon the Alderdimer of the world for the uprightness of our will, do in the name and by alderdom of the good folk of these new lands, earnestly put out and utter that these want settlings are, and of right ought to be, free and self-standing Reichs. What you've just heard is what the Declaration of Independence of the United States might have sounded like if it had been written using only words of Germanic origin. Does that sound crazy to you? Well, it doesn't to followers of a linguistic current known as Anglish, which tries to completely de-Latinize the English language by removing all words that are of non-Germanic origin, replacing them always with Germanic equivalents. The English language is without a doubt one that has received so much foreign influence, so much so that Latin and French words account for nearly 60% of the total English vocabulary. That makes the English language look like a very Latinized one, in spite of its core being Germanic. As a proof that English can be spoken without any Latin or Greek influence, Anglish came into being. I found this form of linguistic purism something odd but intriguing and alluring at the same time. So I decided to test it myself and see how changes could be applied to a text to turn it into Anglish. So in the end, I chose an iconic document like the Declaration of Independence of the US and decided to translate it into Anglish. I'm going to expose how you can apply some of the necessary changes to turn an English text into an Anglish one. First of all, I would like to thank the Anglish online community for their work, especially for the contributions already listed in the English workbook, without which this project would have been much more difficult to be carried out. First and foremost, when we bump into a non-Germanic origin word, what we can do is to just look for synonyms. So you see, modern English already has many ways of expressing the same concept, turning to Germanic origin words only. So for example, instead of using the verb to change, we would use the verb to shift, which is Germanic, whereas change comes from French, so Latin. Secondly, when we can't find an exact synonym for the word we want to express, we can always turn to Old English and adapt this word to modern English. Most of the political and legal concepts that appear in this text are of Latin origin and have no Germanic equivalent, so this is quite a good opportunity for us to revive obsolete Old English words. We're talking about words like government, Congress, legislature, justice, judge, authority, administration, lead word, Wittenmut, lead word or thing, rightwiseness, deemer, alderdom, framing. As an alternative, we can always create new words. For example, lawcraft, which is a made-up word for legislation. Sometimes we will have to reformulate our sentence because there is no way of expressing that same sentence by just replacing words. One method that might help us do that is to use English idioms. So for example, when we come across a verb for which we can't find an exact synonym, we could just replace that verb with an English idiom that expresses the same idea. An example of the application of this technique would be to use time and again instead of repeatedly. I'm gonna read you a paragraph from the Declaration of Independence to show you some examples of how I have applied those changes. So the original version says, "Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And, accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed." The same paragraph in English sounds like this. "Foresight, indeed, will lay down that lead words long set up should not be shifted for light and fleeting roots. And thus, all background has shown that mankind are more willing to ail, while evils can be ailed, than to right themselves by putting an end to the layouts to which they are settled in." So I would say that overall this has been a particularly arduous job to do, because I've had to translate up to 75% or 80% of the words that were on the text, which is mind-blowing and just makes me realize how much English relies on Latin vocabulary. If you want to go more into detail about the words that I've used in this text, you can check the list that I will leave you in the description, in which I tell you if the words are of Old English origin, Middle English origin, or New English words, meaning made-up words. Besides that, I'm delighted to announce you that today a friend of mine and I are publishing an amazing NFT out of this translation. My friend has done an incredible job making it look very much like the original declaration, but with the English version of it, which is pretty awesome. I will leave you the link of it in the description in case you are interested in having a look at it or even buying it. Okay, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more linguistics. See you in the next one.